Hi everyone, welcome back to Academic Ally podcast. I'm Reina, so I hosted a while ago, so I'm back after a while. I hope you guys missed me.
Hi, I'm KY. I usually edit the videos, but today I'm hosting. So yeah, it's my first time appearing here. Yep. And here we have Mr. Ben from the Art, Media and Design school from the NTU, National Technical University of Singapore.
Nanyang Technological University.
Nanyang Technological.
Yes. I've got
University
to correct you, I'm sorry.
So today we're going to be interviewing our good friend Ben here. Stuff related to the NTU Arts Department for any aspiring artists, anyone interested in the field. Hopefully this video provides some wisdom, answers a few questions you guys might have. So Ben, my first kind of question, I think like Kuan Ying said, she's also kind of a former art student herself,
Yes.
but what would you say are the main prerequisites to get into NTU Art, Media, Design, and also maybe what people would you say are the best suited for the career?
Okay. Well, firstly, maybe I'll just quickly introduce myself a bit. So my name is Ben Slater, and I am a senior lecturer at the School of Art, Design and Media, and we tend to call it ADM, right, in a very Singaporean way. You always find the acronym. So I'll probably say that quite a lot. So every time I say ADM, I mean my school that I work for. I've been teaching there for about 15 years, which is a very long time. So I have observed many batches of students come and go, and it makes me feel very old. And I'm also very much involved in outreach and meeting students who want to come. And then all of us on the faculty will be involved in admissions in that we get to see students' portfolios. So one thing that makes ADM a bit special in terms of university applications is that students that want to come to our program, which is a Bachelor of Fine Art. Okay, that's what the degree is called, 4-year degree. Not only is the university going to be looking at their grades and how they did in their final exams, right, but we're also looking at their portfolios. So we're asking students to put together a package of things to show us. And one of the things that makes us really unique is that when students come to ADM, they're not applying for I want to be a filmmaker or I want to be a graphic designer, which you might do if you apply to other art schools in Singapore or overseas. Instead, you just apply to be in the program. And once you're in the program, you can then kind of discover what you want to do. So that means the portfolios can contain all kinds of things. So they don't have to contain one type of art. They could contain creative writing. They could contain drawings. They could contain small bits of media, maybe even interactive stuff, like if people have made games or done animations on their phone or what have you. Photography as well, and whatever kind of creative projects you have done, you can put inside the portfolio. So students that tend to get into ADM, obviously they show a degree of kind of craft and effort in their portfolios. But one thing I would say is portfolios don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the things that we really like to see in portfolios is students' personalities, and that they have a kind of individual point of view. And so actually students that may have done a lot of art education and may have been through certain kinds of art programs prior, they can sometimes even be at a disadvantage because they'll be submitting all of their coursework in their portfolio, and that can sometimes look like other people's coursework because they've all been given similar kind of briefings, right? So students that are very independent, students that are kind of self-starters, that just are really passionate about the arts, they are the ones that are going to really stand out in that process.
Yeah.
And then in terms of when you're in the school, who does best, right? You asked that. It's definitely students that are able to kind of let go of feeling stressed out about grades, okay?
Yeah.
Because it is a creative environment and we are encouraging people to explore things. We're encouraging people to try things out and fail and learn from the failure. And the students that become more comfortable with that, they tend to do really well in the school. And of course, you have to be really curious. You can't be coming into ADM thinking, I only want to do one thing. Now, people do, and there are some people that are just so brilliant at it that they will still thrive. But ultimately, we do want students that are very open-minded, prepared to take on different kinds of challenges, and to accept that not everything they learn might immediately appear to be relevant, and also be prepared to kind of try out things that they might not have expected to try out. And those students if you've got that passion and that enthusiasm and that curiosity, and then eventually around year 4 or just before year 4, you kind of figure out, okay, this is what I really want to do, they will do really well. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because ADM is quite different from like maybe STEM courses. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
I think, it's comforting to hear that you guys want people to, step out of their comfort zones a little bit when they join.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also to collaborate.
Yeah.
You've got to get used to working with other people, and that is also going to be a fundamental thing. Sharing skills. More and more we find students are sharing skills. Students coming from different backgrounds, they are the ones that can do really well when you can communicate with others and work with others.
Okay, got a question from me. What is like the biggest mistake like a student makes when they submit their portfolio?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. The biggest mistake, I guess, we've had some occasions where people are almost submitting identical portfolios because they've all done similar courses, and they will come in and it's very, very similar to other people's. But now I've had a chance to think. I remember, last year we do a portfolio review, which is when before application people can come to the school and kind of get feedback on the portfolios.
Okay.
In a sort of an environment where they've got a chance to have another couple of weeks to revise it. And I had this student come in, and he had these amazingly brilliant drawings, incredibly skilled at illustration. However, they were all fan art from a particular science fiction franchise, right? They were at a very high level, However, I had to say to him, frankly, you can't come into our school if that's all you have in your portfolio. No matter how good technically you are, you're just copying someone else's work, right?
Yes.
And that is extreme. Most people might include some work that's a bit like fan art, but not quite. That's okay. We're not going to throw your portfolio out. If you're doing, like, for instance, manga style illustrations, right? So that is something we see commonly. We're not going to throw you out if you're doing a lot of that. If it's your own original stuff, right? But if your portfolio is just copying other people's work, even if it's really good, it's not going to get you into the school.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Similar to most fields nowadays, I think they want to see you, like a representation of you when you apply.
Which is, I know that can be a hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially
Yes.
because you guys are young, you're still forming, you don't quite know who you are, right? So then you're being told by these older people, we want to see your personality. It is challenging, it is difficult. In a way, it's about representing who you are at that point in time.
Okay.
That's true.
Ooh.
So, I think coming from the point of kind of replications of work, I think now with AI and all that, I think replications have got into a crazy level, something that I can't even fathom. Sometimes I see things online and it's fully AI generated and I'm just shocked. So would you say any industries specifically in arts are being very heavily affected by AI's blossoming?
Oh, this is such a big question, right? The
Yes.
impact of AI on the creative industries, and it's
Yeah.
one that is it's a moving target.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing, but it's affecting everybody in education, right? And not just in the creative industries or the creative sector. So we're grappling with this all the time, and we're also trying to figure out, in a sense, not how it's affecting the industries now, but how it might affect them in the next 5 years or so, because that's the environment our students are going to graduate into. Certainly, there are positive uses of AI in that, AI is being used behind the scenes in, say, animation, probably, hopefully, to save time, right? To actually make certain kind of quite technical processes, speed them up. Okay, so that's a kind of use of AI that we can all be happy with, right? Unless we lose our jobs as a result of it. But then there's the use of AI to sort of reproduce creative thinking and reproduce critical thinking. That's where we run into some problems, because even though in the industry people might be using AI for that purpose and may even be encouraged to save time, etc., we need to educate you guys to be critical thinkers and highly creative. So that if you're using AI in the future, you know how to use it the right way, you know how to judge what the output is. We can't just say to you all, okay, just go and use AI, don't think about anything anymore, you know, and we'll just hope you come up with some good things. So that is a big challenge for us in terms of educating and figuring out how to make AI part of education. And really the NTU position is AI is not going away. You can't hide from it. You can't ignore it. Every educator has to accept that students are using it and has to be able to respond to that and in a way provide guidelines on how to use it responsibly, how to use it well. But in the creative field, it is tricky. You know, it is a very difficult thing trying to figure out exactly how to position students, education, and then in the industries themselves. Because we don't want to use it in a lazy way. We don't want to use it in an unethical way. And I think we still as a society hold a very high premium on individual creativity. And we're all starting, you know, to see how AI stuff, you know, there's this term, I'm sure you guys know, AI slop, right? And like we can recognize AI very quickly, right? So, and when we see it, we're kind of like, ooh, okay. You know what I mean? Like the reaction is like, someone's being lazy, someone hasn't thought very hard about this. So there's a negative reaction. And in a way, that we'll see how long that lasts, right? But for now, in a sense, it's a good thing because it means we are still thinking, okay, creativity is best. And what the brain can do is the most creative thing. And AI can help it and support it, but it definitely can't replace it.
Agreed, yes.
It's good to know you guys think that because you are the next generation, right?
I think really overuse of AI is so prevalent nowadays. I'm just so sick of seeing it. Because when I was younger, I loved just staring at advertisements, just looking at all the illustrations people did. And now it's just kind of a very similar art style that this AI generates. So there's always this somehow yellowish kind of film over it. I'm not so sure. But yeah.
Well, AI imagery, like that photorealistic AI imagery, has a kind of a sheen to it that is very recognizable. You can. It's sort of like Photoshop plus something else, and even when it's moving, it still looks very fake.
So you would say that in the school you guys definitely like make sure the students know how to like respect the original artist's work as well. Like, even if they're taking inspiration and
and that has always been an issue. You know, even before AI, issues about plagiarism, issues about citation, issues about how you show what influenced you. I mean, these are questions that we've always been asking students to address. AI just kind of like supercharges that. And we're going to be launching a new curriculum, actually, a revised curriculum next year, and we're going to have a big plank of that is going to be about integrity and ethics and making sure students really understand some of these issues.
This is a question from one of our viewers. So nowadays, since AI can recreate art styles, is it very common that all of these artists kind of lose their originality to AI, and does copyright fully protect that?
Well, I mean, if people are doing like, that like the whole Studio Ghibli thing, where people were putting their photographs, and I think ChatGPT was able to just convert them into like Miyazaki style, right? I mean, Miyazaki's not making any money from that, right? That's not. There's no copyright protection for that style, right? I mean, if they were literally remaking his films and using his character and then actually making money from them, it would be a different matter. But it sort of might kind of come under the category of like a parody in a way. And people have always been allowed to parody other people's styles, right? It's kind of accepted format, especially when it's a really well-known style. However, once you get to individual artists who maybe aren't so well-known and their work is being kind of like, ripped off by AI, then it becomes much more questionable. And it becomes almost like a form of plagiarism. But right now, there isn't really any clear guidelines on how AI can cite its sources because the back end of AI is sort of a bit unknown. Obviously, if you say, please put this in the style of whatever, Disney, Miyazaki, etc., then it's very, very clear, right? But, it may not always be so clear. And sometimes AI is just synthesizing many different influences and many different things to produce what it produces. So this is a big discussion. And there is like, there are lawsuits. And even things like text-based, LLMs that generate text, right? There's a lot of stuff about where are they learning? Were the books that they learned how to write stolen? Were they I think Meta has more or less admitted that it has used kind of like pirated materials. So it might end up being something like radio or libraries where artists just get a small amount of money every year because their stuff is in the system and is being used. But then do we have a chance to opt out? So all of these questions are still very much up in the air.
Okay, I see.
So like after graduating from ADM, typically, is there any like?
Sorry for that sound, everyone listening.
It's
I hit the microphone with my
Is
coffee.
there typically like in Singapore specifically? I know maybe some people go overseas to pursue other things, but here locally, like any jobs that people tend to go for usually
After they graduate.
after graduation?
There's no like one kind of company that just hires all the
Yeah.
ADM students, right? There's so many, because students come out of ADM having explored so many different things,
Yeah.
right? So we have we have students that are doing lots of design work. Sometimes they're doing product design, sometimes they're doing print design, web design. We have interaction design. We have media students doing film, photography, animation, video games. So clearly, they will generally gravitate towards the relevant industry to what they've actually studied, although not always. And some students may take a completely left turn and go into a different industry. I mean, the other big place that they may end up is in sort of communications. So they may end up going to agencies, PR, marketing, all of that kind of stuff, because, even though they haven't trained specifically in communications, they have the creativity for that. Okay. And design skills are also very, very useful in that industry. Right? So in terms of media, people would go towards production companies. A lot of our students freelance. Quite a number of our students set up their own companies, so they're very entrepreneurial. So 2 or 3 graduates will bond together and form a small agency, or maybe find some other kindred spirit who's studied somewhere else, or maybe he's already left and university is already in the industry. Old friends will meet up and form companies. Some of them have done very, very well. There's a company called Crave Effects, which is one of the really very, very strong animation companies in Singapore. They do a lot of stuff for like NDP every year, all the animations around NDP. That company is formed by 2 ADM alumni, and they hire a lot of our alumni. So that's another really wonderful thing about our school, is that the successful alumni will hire the younger ones. And this is something that people might not talk about that much about universities, especially like a small program, because ADM is actually quite a small school. It's one of the smallest schools in NTU. Is that it means there can be a very nice network, and that when you graduate, you will immediately be able to go and see people who graduated 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, because we're 20 years this year, and say, hey, I came from ADM, and they'll be like, okay, great, and they will know a kind of quality or certain level of skill that you'll have. And so there are those opportunities. But we've had people go into banking. We've had people go into the airline industry. We've had all sorts of career paths for our students that we might not necessarily expect.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, our students are creative, so sometimes that creativity isn't just in the arts, right? It can be applied to many different things.
Cool. Okay. So in recent years, a lot of cinemas, especially the local ones, are closing down. Like, for example, the most recent one was the projector. So now Singaporeans a lot of people online are saying that, it's the businesses' job to attract people, or Singaporeans are just not interested in general. So what insights do you have on this situation and for like this industry in Singapore as a whole?
Did you guys go to projector?
I've been there once with some friends. It was a great time. I love going there, honestly. I'm kind of sad that it closed down.
Okay. What about you, Rain?
Me, not
You missed it, did you? Oh, that's such a shame. I mean, projector was
just before I could,
projector was a wonderful space, right? It was almost like a community space as well as a cinema, and it was a really nice place to go meet people and hang out. So it is, of course, it's a real shame that it's gone. And of course this impacts our students, because our students are the kind of people that would go to projector. And we have students that specialize in film. They they make films. And the other cinema chain that closed in a way more dramatically is Cafe.
Oh yes.
Which is a very historical cinema chain. And that closed. Everyone knows it's not been doing very well for a number of years, especially post-COVID, right? So the COVID situation did, in a sense, get people out of the habit of going to the cinema. Although after COVID, there was a kind of a surge again where people were like, actually, we really like going to the cinema. That sort of slightly faded away. I tend to bring a bigger historical perspective on this, which is that actually there have been many occasions in the history of cinema where it's gone down. Because, the introduction of television, when people could start recording films off television with VHS, and then the rise of DVD. These all led to closures, and cinema seemed to be threatened. And then it would kind of come back a bit. Maybe not as good as before, or not as many screens as before, but it would come back. And cinema is very, very enduring, and partly because there is still a lot of money to be made in cinema. You know, that it's not going away as a business, because it's still a huge business internationally, right? But I think there is an argument to be made that, you know, commercial cinemas do need to refresh what they do and what they offer. The irony is that Projector kind of did that. Projector was this cool space where you could have really nice food and like different kinds of drinks, and it had this kind of community feel, and so it offered a lot more than just going to a film. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for them, right? For whatever reason, and we don't know all the details about how and why they're closed, right? But for something like Cafe had seemed to have become quite a tired operation, yeah, and needed something to change there. So I think hopefully cinemas can pivot; they can sort of see their strengths. It also partly depends on what films are coming out. Cinemas are completely dependent on what is coming out, and if films are coming out that aren't doing that well or aren't that relevant to audiences, then cinemas are really in a very vulnerable position. So these things coexist in a kind of symbiotic relationship. But I hope cinema doesn't go, because I love the cinema, I love it,
I'm still kind of sad about the closing.
Well, I think the good thing is, the positive thing is that, you know, there's almost like a generation that grew up going, you know, came of age as teenagers going to Projector, and they remember it, and they will have very fond memories of Projector, and hopefully as people get a little older, they'll go, okay, we want to start our own Projector.
Exactly.
And there will be new spaces, and I think people will realize there will be people who will see opportunities to start new kinds of spaces. So I think it's not gone, you know, the spirit of it will live on.
Yeah. I feel that also the space which the Projector occupied, I heard the rent was very high, so they also couldn't sustain. So I think a lot of these creative businesses, they all cannot really sustain because the rents are very high, and also the audience in Singapore may not be big enough to support them. So
this is true, and it's not just about cinemas. It's you know, F&B is really struggling right now. So that rental issue, that is a big problem, right?
Yes.
And one that we can't resolve, unfortunately. That's a huge issue.
Closing of business, a lot of factors go into it. I mean, I'm sure there's so many people upset about the closure, you know, equally. Yeah.
So do you think that the ADM industry in Singapore over-focuses too much on monetary value rather than other implications on us as like humans? So what would this mean for those wanting to establish themselves in the industry in Singapore?
So your question is, are people too focused on money?
Yeah, like
are people too worried about money?
I think both. Like people are nowadays, I think it's a lot of people, it's common to think that, you know, when you go into like this creative industry, you can't make a lot of money, or the employment is not as good as STEM.
Even in our school, like, because we, going from grade 10 to 11, we changed our subjects, right? And then I think I mentioned to you briefly, I took theater last year. People, like, even now they ask me, like, oh, why didn't you take it again? And I was like, oh, because my parents even thought that I should focus on something like science, something like math, which is like quite sad. And then people are like, at least you'll be making money, but
See, I would say for me, and of course I came from theatre, right? So my first degree, my undergraduate degree was in drama. The skills you learn doing drama and theatre are so powerful, because you learn how to work with other people, and you learn how to work under pressure. You learn how to be calm in very stressful situations. You learn how to solve problems quickly. You learn how to be independent. You learn how to be extremely creative in your thinking. All of this is like going to get you a good job, or it's going to make you a very good employee at least, right? So I feel similarly about art, design and media, which is, you know, there is this emphasis on, okay, well, the starting salaries are not so good, and there is data, you know, every year there's employment data. However, it doesn't stop people wanting to do it. And I think, and you know, the idea that we can solve the economic problem, you know, it's a bit like the rental with the landlords. These are not easy issues to solve, right? But the key thing is people still want to do creative jobs, and they still want to be creative and express themselves. And that passion and that enthusiasm is not going away. Now, of course, there will be people like yourself who have to, you know, there'll be parental pressure. You know, I tell you one thing anecdotally, I meet a lot of students coming to who want to get into ADM, and they will have done STEM in A-level, right? And they will say, look, I did STEM for A-level or IB, and because my parents really wanted me to, and I was miserable, okay? Now, I'm not saying you will be, all right? And I did okay, and now my parents said to me, okay, go and do what you want now.
Yeah.
You know, so they're kind of like suddenly liberated, right? So and that's a good thing in a sense, right?
Yes.
But because, you know, people are willing to accept that, yes, then the financial rewards won't be there right away, but they'll be doing something they love.
Exactly.
And something where they can express themselves. And, you know, hopefully in the longer term, things will pay off down the line. But, you know, in many ways, being able to do stuff you really love is a reward in and of itself. That's not to say the creative industries aren't difficult and they aren't challenging, and sometimes you can be doing very difficult work, but you are driven by a certain kind of passion, right?
Exactly.
And if people watching this feel like, yes, I recognize that passion, I really want to express myself, I really want to do creative things, please stick with it. Tell your parents to talk to me. You know, I will sit down with them and explain why these things are going to be good in the long run. And stick with it. And the financial stuff is sort of like, you know, hopefully we don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think even for me personally, like, I would never give back those 2 years of drama. I think just as a person, it made me so much more confident. Like, I can stand in front of the school and present at assembly with like no tremors anymore, and I don't think I could have done that before I took it. So I definitely agree that even in terms of the skills I think art offers, it's sometimes overlooked. I think for our students, like in school, they might have like an impression of what it is, like, oh, it's drawing and painting, but I mean, it's so much more than that. So I hope this gives some insight into that.
Yes. So do you think Singaporeans don't value the creative industry or the ADM industry in general?
No, I don't want to say that. You know, I don't. I think that obviously there is a traditional mindset in Singapore of, you know, about, especially for parents, wanting their children to get a good job and to be comfortable, and that affects so many decisions in terms of education all the way through to you know, finally finishing your education, right? So the back of everyone's mind is, I really want my kid to be well and to be happy, but to also earn some money and things like that. And I guess that can be perceived as saying, okay, well, I guess the arts aren't so important. You remember during COVID, they did a list of essential and non-essential jobs, and I think arts-related jobs were considered non-essential. and we, you know, those of us who love the arts, whatever form it might take, theatre or film or even design or drawing or painting, it's essential, right? It's essential to us. It's essential to our identities. And I think, you know, Singaporeans are aware of that. I think the government is aware of that. It's put so much money into heritage, into culture, into arts funding, into media development. I mean, I think, you know, look at the amazing museums and theatres that there are in Singapore. So I think, you know, people know the value. People do know the value, even though they might pragmatically worry about, you know, the bottom line.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for like anyone that has that creative passion, it's not going to just, you know, disappear overnight. I think people definitely will have.
I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
So for those wanting to get into this ADM industry, where would be a good place to start? Like maybe for people around our age?
Well, in terms of like thinking about going into art, design and media?
Yeah, like in the industry in general, and maybe even like studying it.
I mean, obviously, it will, if you're actually taking any kind of art courses, or you're doing media related or art related or photography related CCAs, you know, these are good places to start practicing and making your own things. But actually, you don't even need those structures, because there's so much information about how to create things online, right? There's so many tutorials about editing, about photography, about even like drawing techniques. So you can kind of really educate yourself. You've got tools on your laptops, on your phones that enable you to do incredible things. So if you're passionate about the arts and creativity, there's kind of no excuse. You just need to probably someone needs to set you a deadline. And that deadline could be, I need to get some work for the portfolio so I can apply to ADM, right? And that can be the deadline. And that's actually a good deadline to think, okay, in about a year and a half, I want to have a portfolio ready. I better start making something. So go ahead. Get going with your portfolios, yeah. You got more? This is the longest academic ally podcast ever, I think.
We really edit it and it goes
okay.
All right.
Okay, our final
last question. Final question, guys.
More fun question.
More fun question.
Let's get an insight into what Ben himself watches. So Ben, what would you say is like a film you would recommend to our audience? Anyone wanting to pursue arts, thinking about arts, like any kind of movie that's...
I mean, asking a film person, and I consider myself a film person, like to name one film is like really impossible.
Just don't say Harry Potter, Ben.
And
I'll be-
don't say what?
Harry Potter.
No,
I'll be a bit
obviously not.
disappointed.
Fond as I am through my own children of the Harry Potter franchise. No, I did think about this. Like, what is one film I could tell or kind of urge you guys to watch that maybe you haven't come across before? And of course I thought about picking my favorite film, but actually I'm not going to do that. I've decided to pick something that I actually watched at Projector. I think I can't remember if it was very early this year or late last year. They did a retrospective of the films of Akira Kurosawa, who is a very, very famous Japanese film director. And the film that I would recommend that people watch is called Seven Samurai. Okay, Seven Samurai. It's a film that's been remade many times, sometimes officially, sometimes unofficially. In fact, mostly unofficially, I think. And it is a film. It's long, but it has everything in it. Okay, it has comedy, it has drama, it has tragedy, it has love, it has suspense, and it has incredible action. And it really, in a way, is like the first great action movie. And it has kind of an extraordinary kind of lesson for all of us, which I won't spoil if you watch the film. And it's about a kind of gang of mercenaries who are the samurai, the Seven Samurai, who are hired by a village to protect them from evil bandits, right, in kind of period Japan. And that saga of how they are recruited and how they come to the village, how they integrate with the village, and how they finally fight the bandits is just this incredible epic tale. And I watched it at Projector. It was the first time I'd seen it in the cinema on the big screen, which is highly recommended, but obviously most people won't be able to. Just get a copy and put it on the biggest TV you can find. Watching it with an audience, and there were some young people in the audience, some people brought their children, and hearing people laugh and hearing people very quiet during the tense scenes, and just the joy of it was just magnificent. And it is just a really inspiring film because it has just so many things in it.
Wow.
I want to watch it now.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah.
Seven Samurai. It is one of the greatest films ever made. Yeah.
Okay, I'll watch it after my end of year exams.
Okay.
So
Great.
that's all the questions we have for you, Mr. Ben. So
Mr. Ben.
I don't know, I'm sorry. I'm not used to calling people by their first name.
I know. In university, generally, you call your lecturers by their first name,
Yeah.
but actually a lot of students are very uncomfortable with it because they've come from school and they, so we end up getting called prof.
Yeah,
all the time.
my dad teaches at NUS. All the students call him prof.
Well, I'm not even a prof. I'm a lecturer. So I don't even have prof in my job title, but yeah, I get called prof.
It's okay, in ACS you'll be known as the Ben. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. I like that. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today and sharing all of your insights about the ADM industry. We really appreciate it. I very appreciate it a lot. Thank you
Good.
so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
This is the Academic Ally podcast. Thank you everyone for watching to the end. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The school is now closed. Please make your way off campus.